Hello and welcome to our interview today. My name is Marianne Kannengießer. I'm originally from Austria and a classical homeopath for animals. And with me today is my dear colleague, Divya Bhatt, who originally comes from India and now is living in Australia. And today we want to have a view on what it means to practice as an well-trained Indian homeopath in a country like Australia. Dear Divya, welcome, and may I ask you to introduce yourself?
Hello, Marianne. It's wonderful to be chatting with you today. To introduce myself, I've done my post-graduation from Maharashtra University of Health Sciences in Maharashtra. I graduated in the year 2011. Before that, I did my graduation in Bangalore, which is southern part of India, from the Bangalore University of Medical Sciences. So I've got a bachelor's, which is known as Bachelor of Homeopathic Medicine and Surgery in India, which is a medical degree along with homeopathic subjects. And then in Mumbai, I did Doctor of Medicine, which is a master's degree in homeopathy.
So you are a doctor, trained not in Western pharmaceutical medicine, but in homeopathy.
Yes. So I am a doctor in homeopathy back in India, but here in Australia, I'm known as a therapist.
Okay, so they did not accept your degree.
They accept my degree, but because homeopathy is not a medical science here, because they are not medically trained doctors, most of them, and it is just a Bachelor of Science degree here. So they do not recognize it as a medical field as it is recognized in India. So we are known as therapists here.
Okay.
Or broadly classified as naturopaths.
Classified, yes, I know that word, naturopath. So what was your first impression, just from a personal point of view and respect we usually have for doctors, when you first were in Australia, met other colleagues and met clients?
That's a very interesting question. When I came to Canberra, I migrated to Canberra in November 2015. And straight away, because I've been in the homeopathic field right from 2002. So it's almost been 9 years of study plus 5 years of practice in Mumbai. So I wanted to pursue my profession in the same field. And to realize that it is not a medically recognized field here and you do not have the direct government support here, it was a little kind of a setback. But however, the regulations have been ruled by the Australian Registrar of Homeopaths, which is fondly known as ARO here in Australia. And they they look into all the legalities and the rules and regulations. So I was aware of it right before I migrated because I had spoke to them through the emails and all. So I had to apply for a board exam where I had to actually sit for all three formats. I did a written exam, I did an oral exam, and as well as I had to do a case discussion in front of the examiner to see whether I was competent enough to practice here. I remember I even checked my English, so which is understandable coming from a country like India, which is multilingual. It's English is not your first language, so that was the first challenge for me. And soon after, I started my practice since January. So I actually practiced in a multidisciplinary practice where you have remedial massage therapists, you have naturopaths, and you have hypnotherapists, you have speech pathologists, and people like that. So I was given a cabin where I could practice, which was a big support for me. And Australia has been very supportive with regard to that. Slowly, it was like clients who come in, you explain to them what homeopathy is, then you give your flyer with all the information and all. It's difficult because people do not, they think more with naturopathy and they know less about homeopathy. And it was a challenge in the initial 6 months, but as one client starts getting better with their symptoms, they refer you to another one, and then it's like word of mouth. And that's how my practice built up. And I'm lucky, and by God's grace, practice actually eventually picked up really well.
So, how was it with clients who are not trained to take homeopathy or to answer questions from a homeopath? How was it to educate them, understand?
Interesting, actually, because back in India, you're almost seeing 20 to 25 clients minimum a day,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to introduce what is homeopathy to them. Like most of them, they know, they're aware of it. Like, oh, okay, the doctor is going to ask you a lot of questions and all, and they trust you because you are from a medical background, so they know your boundaries, where you play, and where you know that you have to refer to an emergency or a specialist or anything. But here it's a different thing. So it's a different ball game altogether. So clients, when they came to me, it was like, okay, I had to actually give them a brief about homeopathy. Like Samuel Hahnemann, it was a medicine which was founded by a German physician, and I will be doing a life space investigation where I'll be talking right from your birth up to your present state, what has resulted in this basic illness. And homeopathy doesn't treat any disease; it treats the person as a whole. So it is more of your symptoms, and it was it was quite kind of a homework for me. It was a learning experience for me where I had to educate my clients about it and then start with the case taking and stuff like that. And even people were amazed, like, oh, such small sugar pills, what are they going to do? Oh, you're not giving us any herbal mixtures, or you're not giving us any tinctures and things. But eventually faith builds up once they see that change coming up.
Yeah, so you have to go by experience and by success. And are you dealing with globules or with water solutions, as most Indian homeopaths do?
Depends. If it is kids, I usually give them in pilules. And if it is elderly, I give water doses. Depends on, I do a bit of both. So some of them prefer in pilules. I go along with my client, whatever suits them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also explain in cases where I think water medicine works best.
Mm-hmm.
And then I explain to them, this is how it goes and all. So a lot of other factors involved. So we go with what the individual likes.
Yeah, yeah. And with what problems did your clients come in the first place?
Because it was a multidisciplinary practice, like we had this remedial massage therapist, so people basically came with symptoms they were affected with, were muscle cramps or even lethargy or some deficiency. They're not able to concentrate on work. And at times it was more about I'm not energetic, or some thyroid issues, symptoms associated with it, or even some less metabolism. Or they might have seen a couple of naturopaths and they say that it's not taking them too far, and then they come back to you, kind of thing. So it was more around those issues, generalized issues. And later on, as my practice built up, they were like, okay, they came in for children with difficulties in concentration or with behavioral issues. So it is a kind of a mixed range. And now, because they know that you're medically trained, okay, you're at least aware of what it is to do with medicine. So they come up with various other problems like skin issues, or even menstrual complaints, and even male problems and stuff like that. So then it actually broadens your clientele, the range of complaints you see in the people.
You said in India you were at least seeing 20 to 25 clients per day. How is it
Yes.
now?
On an average, I see, if it is a quiet day, I see on an average, say, 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is a really busy day, I would see up to even 8, or even sometimes even 9. So you just have to, and sometimes you're like, oh, you've just seen a couple of clients. And because you're from a country like India where you've been really busy the whole day, it's kind kind of, oh, okay, you're missing something, but they say it's a usual trend, yeah?
Yes, I think so. And obviously, when you have 20 to 25 clients per day, it builds up a lot of experience.
Oh, yes.
Aren't you missing that?
I am missing that a little bit, but having said that, Australia has given you that broad view of things like which have been very minor complaint or very minor issue in India. Like you wouldn't see people coming up with some, say, difficulties in behavior or things because people don't have time to think about all those things back in India. Right? It's more about physical complaints. But here you get to deal with emotional issues. You get to deal with psychological issues, which is quite good. Like I work side by side with psychologists. I work with medical doctors. I refer my clients back to doctors if they need any further investigations and things like that. So it goes hand in hand. And even the doctors and people who understand that, yes, the person on the other side knows what they are talking, or they know their subject well, they actually encourage you and they support you as well because they know that you're sending the client to a proper place where they can be treated further. So it's kind of a support you get from them. So it's all a learning curve. I wouldn't say like say every place has its own advantages and disadvantages. So India had its own advantages and disadvantages, and Australia has its own. So you have your pros and cons. It's two sides of the same coin.
Okay, but the integrative approach in Australia is better.
Sorry, Marianne?
The integrative approach, the co-work between homeopaths and let's say conventional doctors is better in Australia?
I wouldn't say better or less. It depends on who the practitioner is. Like, I've never heard a no from any GP to whom I've referred my clients to. In fact, some of them have got back to me with their follow-ups. So, like for a normal issue, when you'd say that, okay, this client seems to be, like even I've sent clients to emergency department. And I've even answered to queries from hospitals and all. So they're happy to know that, yes, we are with the medical school. The problem arises when you are saying that, oh, you can treat some difficult cases without the medical school help. That's when problems arise. Yeah. And that's where the controversy starts. So if you're syncing with them, I don't think it's a big issue. But say back in India, you're a medical doctor. So you know your pros and your cons, and you can send the person directly for an investigation. But here, everything goes through a GP. And it's well and good that if you know what you're dealing with, then they are more supportive and they're like, oh, okay, we're happy to take this client and return back the investigations to you. So it's like that. So I can't say which is good or bad, but both have their pros and cons.
Yes, and it's different, obviously. Are you treating more acute or more chronic cases now?
It's a mixture of both again. However, because of the present COVID-19 situation, acute cases, we send them to the doctors as much as possible, to the GPs. It's also better to not take kind of cases with fever and cold and symptoms like that. And moreover, people who come up to you are more trusted with chronic ailments because they have seen quite a number of specialists and people, and they want to see if anything homeopathy can help them with. And that's kind of a more number of cases which you get to see here in Australia.
Okay, so it's more to chronic cases and less to acute cases, which you were more used to in India.
Yes.
Okay, I see. What else did I want to ask you? About the training that you get in India. When you compare it to the colleagues you know now in Australia, what do you think? What is lacking most in Australia at the moment?
It would be wonderful if it is more connected with the medical school. Like back in India, because I did my graduation from a government college, and I did my MD with one of the big colleges in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, IMT Homeopathic Medical College there. The Bangalore college is a government college, so we were connected with the government medical school and the hospital. So the exposure you get is vast. So we had to actually sit with the MBBS students and get that training and stuff. So it is quite wide, and even with the population, the training you get is quite a lot. But here in Australia, because I haven't studied homeopathy here, it's kind of quite difficult for me to kind of comment much on it at the moment. Yeah. But I would say that if it is integrated more with the medical system, it would kind of open up new avenues for homeopaths, and they will be able to understand the medical field as well. And even the medical field will understand what is lacking in therapists who are practicing in Australia. And eventually, you want to help your client in a much better way. If, at the end of the day, you just want to save as much lives as you can. And so
Yeah,
they can.
it's always the same. It's always the same. Just one of my cats is very ill, had surgery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear.
Yeah, very bad surgery, very
Mm-hmm.
invasive. He had stones in the bladder, and
Uh-huh.
they finally obstructed the urethra, so we had to go for penis amputation
Mm-hmm.
and do a plastic for the urethra. And yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
surgery is 1 week, has been 1 week ago,
Oh, okay.
and he
Oh,
is on his path of recovery.
oh, that's
And of
good to
course,
hear.
we were going for Arnica and then Staphysagria, and now we see how it's going on. But he's quite okay. He's
Oh,
eating
that's
all
good.
the time, seems not to have much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
That,
the absolute incredible thing about homeopathy, that it is just a few globules, and no matter what you have, the pain is never the same as if you treat it with conventional medicine.
yes, that's what the founder, Dr. Hahnemann, he talks in his Organon of Medicine. He talks, he tells that in homeopathy, the totality of symptoms is more important to choose a similima, the most similar remedy. Because if we choose the wrong remedy, then it's not going to work.
Yeah,
That's the issue with homeopathy. We have to choose the remedy from the totality of symptoms. So we can't choose remedies for just one symptom here and there. It has to be the whole picture. And it works amazingly then. And homeopathy is a very big ocean. It's not easy to practice homeopathy, they say,
oh,
because you have to know you have to know your basics well. So, but it's amazing.
yeah,
That's why it going.
yeah. As far as I learned, in India, you can do your doctor's degree either in organon or in materia medica or in what was the third one?
Or repertory,
Rep.
and they have other subjects like medicine, psychiatry, and pediatrics.
Okay. What did you choose?
I did organon of medicine.
You did organon. This is quite a topic.
Oh yes, yes. Oh, it's quite a topic, and I've ran through 3, 4 books of mine, but still you discover new thing every day because the way he has beautifully written it, it's actually an amazing subject. And I wasn't so keen when I was an undergraduate, but as you get into practice and you're keen about specializing in some subject, it kind of draws your attention, and then you know it's the foundation of homeopathy. There's nothing you can do without the knowledge of organon and homeopathy. So it's amazing.
Yeah, at least you cannot do much if you don't know it, or you definitely will do mistakes.
Oh,
So,
yes.
COVID-19, you said. Um, you do not treat in Australia as homeopath, you have to send them to the conventional doctors?
First of all, COVID-19 cases, because I am in Canberra, I haven't seen any, but it is the government protocol, and it makes sense as well because we are dealing with the pandemic, which you are not much aware of, and the medical school is handling them. Even with the medical school, places like in Australia, they actually have a separate clinic, an isolated clinic where actually they test you and then you are into an isolation ward because you're dealing with something you're not aware of. So, yes, at the moment, no, I'm not treating any
Mhm.
people with the symptoms of COVID 19. However, if anyone comes up with cold or fever complaints, it's usually over the phone, and we usually say, go get yourself tested first on a safer side.
Mhm.
And also in Australia, you have the COVID Safe app, which is enabled on your mobile. So you use it whenever you leave your home. So it kind of tracks you whether you're in contact with anyone, and kind of to stop that, what to say, that physical contact spread.
Mhm.
Um,
I just remember my talk with Dr. Isaac Golden, who is
mhm.
living in Australia too, and he's doing homeoprophylaxis.
Yes.
Did you do something like that too or not?
Uh, it's not a specialty for me. I don't specialize in that. It's basically classical homeopathy, what Hahnemann has advocated. That has been my strength, and that's what I practice. It's not that because it's something I don't know much about. So I don't indulge myself in something which I'm not much aware of. I
Yeah.
would rather leave it to the people who are specialized in those things to deal with it,
Mhm.
and then concentrate on my classical homeopathy and things like that.
From my talk with Professor Pradip Kumar Gupta, I learned that
Mm-hmm.
in India
Mm-hmm.
they treat COVID-19 in
Mm-hmm.
different stages with three different remedies, mostly
Yes.
arsenicum, then bryonia, and then gelsemium. Did
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
see referring symptoms to those remedies in Australia too?
Unfortunately, because I didn't get to see any COVID-19 cases, that is one thing. But however, I read this in the paper and in the research papers which were sent to me,
Mhm.
that these were the remedies which were chosen on the basis of that. But I would like to emphasize one point here is that from what Hahnemann has taught in organ of
Mhm.
medicine, he has told totality of symptoms is the only thing which can point towards a remedy in homeopathy. So
Mhm.
every individual is different. So to what extent one remedy can help a group of people, I'm not aware of it. I'm not had that opportunity to see that in practice at the moment because of the place I live in, and might be it might have helped. But I've heard about these reports coming out from India, and I don't know to what. I'm not much aware of these things at the moment.
As far as I understood, the remedies worked perfectly well. It seemed that the individualization got lost during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and maybe it needs an individualized remedy after.
That is what is the essence of homeopathy. It's only totality of symptoms. Nothing else can point you towards the proper medicine, like proper homeopathic simillimum, and that actually creates the change or the shift in their personality or in their health state. So there are a lot of reports, and especially when a pandemic is so widespread, people are trying each and everything they can help the humanity with. So you never know. Time will tell what's
Uh,
happening and how we are
yeah,
heading.
yeah. As far as I did see, the results were very good. So
Mm-hmm.
we did see that different remedies in different regions were
Mm-hmm.
more used and ones were less used. Did you see any remedies in your Australian clients that you didn't recognize in India? Some specific things about Australians that they might go more to those remedies than to others?
No, I wouldn't say, because see, it's basically the polychrist remedies, the main remedies in homeopathy. And yes, rare remedies are easily accessible in Australia. So you get to say, you would say, like remedies like, they say they have remedies like vaccine remedies. They have DPT vaccine and all, which I've never used. I've heard of them, and I would rather prefer using a remedy which has the clear proving data in it, like how Animan proved the remedies. It says recorded in his Mitra Medica and his Mitra Medica Prura, those 2 volumes. Then you have got other Mitra Medica books by Kent. Then you've got Borick and all. So I would rather use that data where it is clinically proven, because one is I'm not aware of it. So I'm a person who would do things which I'm aware of, rather than, because we are still dealing with human beings, and I would rather not experiment and explore new stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, and so
some of us are explorers and other are not explorers. It's individual.
Sorry?
So I said some of us are explorers and adventurers and some are not. It's just individual.
Yes. It's again the individuality, the uniqueness of homeopathy, again, back to that same thing.
Yeah, did you see any special psychological issues coming up in the Australian population after the lockdown?
After the lockdown, yes, one of the famous thing was that, what do they call it? The panic shopping. Toilet papers were off the shelves and all. But yes, the anxiety levels were quite marked. That again, I think depends on the lifestyle, because in India, one is the huge population. You don't have time to, because there are people staying on daily wages. That wouldn't happen in Australia, in a country like Australia. So you don't have time to kind of think, or it's a place too crowded. Whereas when you see Canberra, it's quite a spaced area, and it's not like a proper city. There was a time when I migrated, it was categorized as a regional city. So you had very few public, or even the roads were quite empty and all. And now the population is gradually growing up. So because of all these factors, you see people come up with complaints, symptoms more of anxiety, say about panic attacks and loneliness and depressions and things like that. And one is because the public are also aware, because of the education and stuff. Whereas in India, you would see a person with a mental illness, but they wouldn't come up with a diagnosis just because they have not approached any other specialist before seeing us. But here you come, people who have done their homework well, and they come back and they tell you, they actually educate you on most of the symptomatology. So that is quite evident. Yeah.
As this toilet paper issue was global,
Yes.
but let's say in Asia, Thailand, as they have other kind of toilets, or the Arabian section, they didn't have that issue. But globally, this craziness about toilet paper was going on during COVID-19. Would you think that is a symptom that we could repertorize?
Yes, of course, we can repertorize that symptom, but that again depends on what the person thought while buying the toilet papers. Was the person thinking that they would run out of supplies? Or was it the anxiety for their health? Was it being fastidious? So it's a lot of other factors. We can't say, okay, buying toilet papers is a rubric as we consider in homeopathy. It would depend on what was the reaction
behind.
Yeah. The reason behind their reaction of buying those toilet papers. So
I mostly had the feeling that the reason of buying the toilet paper was because everybody was buying toilet paper.
You go along with the crowd.
Yeah, going along with the crowd. Which rubric would we take for that?
I would say more about fear and anticipatory anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you would say desire to belong to the company. So I would say desire for company, but it's more about anticipatory anxiety.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But then again, it's a broad picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why did they follow them? Were they conscious? Was it lack of confidence in dealing the situation? Or was it more of anxiety? Or was it they were concerned for their loved ones? And why did they follow the crowd? That why again will answer to, and then again the rubric will change again.
I asked a lot of them who did buy a lot of toilet paper, and I tried to ask why.
Uh-huh.
And mostly I was answered because the others did. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, the others did it, but what did you want to do with the toilet paper stock at home?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was blank in the eyes and nothing more to answer.
So I would think even clueless becomes a rubric then. Or delusion, or even a delusion, they will lose everything. Delusion of loss, of fear, and a lot of other things come. And that's what is so amazing about homeopathy. You don't realize till you've got into that field. And then you think, oh my goodness, one simple presentation comes up with so many other things. And it again individualizes to that particular person. And it's not like, oh, they're buying a toilet paper. It's again, what is their thought, their individual thought, and why did they
Mhm.
react in that way? So,
Yes, but this symptom was a very interesting symptom, very interesting global symptom.
oh, yes,
Mm.
yes, yes.
From your practitioner point of view, what
Mhm.
would you wish from your Australian clients? What
Wish
would you
for,
wish for
okay,
in
wish for,
regard to Indian clients?
I would wish there would be more of health rather than, see, in India, you have communicable diseases. Here, it's more about concerns with anxiety and things like that. I wish there were more people to share their feelings with, and people have more of loneliness, and they want people to communicate with. I wish there were people who could listen to their issues, where they could feel that they are in a comfort zone, who actually miss all those things. And I wish there's more of families and involvements in that. And as per India, I wish people were more aware of what the situation is, like even to the response of the pandemic and all. I heard that people are not supporting and not self isolating or having that social distancing. So every place has its issues, and issues are different everywhere. But at the end of the day, everyone has issues.
Yes, so for your Australian clients, you see that it is very important that they have somebody they can talk to and somebody who is able to really listen.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And it's very important.
Is there anything you would like your clients to be prepared for
In
already?
what respect, Marianne?
Hmm?
Like prepared in what in with regard.
In India, people know about homeopathy. They just traditionally know about it. They know how to deal with it. Is
Mhm.
there anything you wish from your clients that should change?
uh, like more awareness of homeopathy. But having said that, that will happen once the medical fraternity starts training people with homeopathy as well. I mean to say, like homeopaths here, when they get the medical exposure, yes, things might happen. But because these two are different industries, though we are directly or indirectly related to health, it becomes a distant dream. But I think one day will come when the therapists here have the medical background, things will change. Things will change for good.
So you really think that the main issue is that we need to have medical trained homeopaths?
Yes, yes. Because you need to be aware of what you are treating and how you are dealing with the situation. And medical school, the Western medicine or the allopathy or even the medical school has its own ways, and we cannot neglect their emergency department. And it has saved thousands of lives. So you can, as I said, everything needs to be acknowledged. You can acknowledge certain thing only when you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And
so in India, we have this Ministry of Ayush.
yes.
And you're so glad that you have that. The only place in the world where we have that. So do you think that we could create an equivalent to that in Australia?
Um, yes, it can become a reality soon because though it's not a ministry, Arrow is also dealing with the rules and regulations. And we have associations like Australian Homeopathic Association, which is regularly updating the practitioners with the legalities and things like that. So, though these are organizations like AHA is a not-for-profit organization, Arrow is a not-for-profit registration body. They are not kind of funded by the government. Let me put it this way: they are not funded by the government, but still these individual bodies, they are working towards this. They are working towards the medical school accepting homeopathy, or we as practitioners, we are well trained to help our clients in a much, much better way. So, though we are not completely like a ministry in India, I would say our work is no less. So, still supporting, and there's always help everywhere to guide practitioners like us professionally, and even to some extent personally as well. So, it is working. We have our own small community here working together.
Yeah. Do you think that really therapists can, in an association, create political influence, or should the political influence come from the community, from the people who are treated, from the patients?
It's both ways, Marianne. See, clients who have been treated, if they have a good response, yes, they would actually back our system. And having said that, even practitioners who have had political background or who are aware of the political thing, they equally contribute towards it. So it's both the sides. We cannot neglect one side for the other.
Okay. Are there any final statements you want to make? I now have a picture of what it is to work as an Indian homeopath in Australia.
For me, life is every time a learning experience for me. Yes, a person may get what to say low and in a low mood, say, "Oh, this country is not backing up homeopathy as it must have been." But having said that, I'm in a position where I'm practicing in Australia since 2016, and people know about me. People are aware of me. So I would think there's an individual's effort as to how deep or how vast you can spread yourself. And homeopathy does its work.
Yeah.
If we put in our effort into homeopathy, no matter whichever part of the world you are, if you're true to your profession, it will shine. It will eventually shine. And there are people around you who will support you, who will help you grow. So I learn from my clients, I learn from my colleagues, I learn from my seniors, I learn from my juniors. So everywhere, it's just that I'm eager to learn more. So homeopathy is all about learning. We just have to learn and be ready to receive all that knowledge.
That brings me to my last question. Are you still attending seminars in India?
I do attend webinars. I've got my mentoring mentors who run their webinars, and I still attend them, but I'm not able to attend as much because It's usually late in the night and it's 1 or 2 a.m. for me, but I still
Yeah.
make time. But yes, I still attend webinars and things like that. Seminars has not been possible, but at least I make it a point to attend the webinars.
At least online. So
Hmm.
you're still for learning, you're going back to what you knew, the Indian knowledge.
Oh yes, even my clinic table, I can actually show. I still have my Boric repertory, and I've still got my kin. There was a time I even tell to my friends. I tell them I thought once I finished my education, I thought I wouldn't ever turn back to these books or even read. But every time I have one or the other book on my table, then I'm browsing some medical textbook. I'm like, it's never ending, but it's fun,
It's
and
fun.
that's how we can help people around.
Divya, thank you very much for this interview. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed your Indian view on Australia. And it's always a difficult thing
Mhm.
entering another country, getting along with the traditions there,
Mhm.
introducing a great alternative in medicine like homeopathy to a
Mhm.
country where it is not that appreciated. But as you say, it's the it's the actions that draw in the people, the actions and the successes. I wish you well.
Thank you very much, Marianne. It was my pleasure talking to you, and it was an experience. You just took me down the line where I started my journey as a homeopath, and it has been challenging. Even in India, I had my challenges, and I had my challenges in Australia. But everything was a learning experience, and it has made me what I am today. And it will eventually shape me in a much better way. And that's what I wish. And I wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors. And it's wonderful to know someone so passionate about homeopathy. And I wish all the best wishes to your cat as well. And hope all ends well. And
It will.
you take care. And lots of love to everyone.
Lots of love. Bye.
Yeah, bye.